Hello there guys, and welcome to today's webinar. I hope you are just excited as I am, because today it will be about the new NYX bulb. I'm Jesper, I'm from Astera, just in case you didn't already know. And like I said, we are going through every detail of the NYX bulb and the power station, which is also a new thing, all the mounting and grips options here as well. I do have Sebastian sitting here in front of me. We are taking our precautions and of course keeping our distance. So in case you have any questions during this webinar, just fire them away in the chat on the right side, and Sebastian will also interact with us here today, answer the questions and also interact here with me during the webinar. Guys, before we get started, I hope you are well, and yeah, I'm pretty excited, hopefully to see you soon out there in the future. So just let's get started. The NYX actually is also from the Greek mythology, which refers to NYX actually was or is the Greek goddess of the night. So that's why we have called it the NYX bulb, just so you have something to refer to, just like the Titan, Helios and Hyperion, that this is also a part of the Greek mythology. Perfect. So, getting started here, we'll just screw in and out the bulb here from the socket once on and along as we go. So, the bulb here, I have written down, as you also see here in the presentation, some very obvious usage areas. So we have theater for if you already have some sockets installed in the ceiling. This is very easy, simply just to screw in and you have a running bulb. Practical light when you talk about film shooting and studio installations as well. And of course, stage design. So, for you who works with event, just imagine a full color DMX controlled bulb that can easily actually be integrated in any stage design. So just use your imagination. Your imagination is your only limit in this case. For the ones of you who work with film, it's actually finally a bulb that only or do not only do colors, but can be controlled accurately, so when talking about white colors and so on. Talking about the bulb a little bit more technical, has a 14 watt LED. After we calibrated it, and once you turn it on, use it on full brightness, you have a power draw of 10 watts. Last week we actually measured the brightness, which we reached for or on 750 lumens. So you also can imagine yourself how bright it actually is. If you can compare with a traditional bulb, it will be comparable with a 60 watt bulb, also for your imagination, because as you might know, it's not on the market yet, so you just have to picture yourself this. Good. Talking about the LED is actually a Titan LED engine. So the same LEDs what we use in the Titan tube, but as you might know, the Titan tube is 16 pixels and this is only 1 pixel. Still with RGB, amber and mint, which makes it possible for us to reach a CRI and TLCI of 96 or above. So in this case, still digital calibration with precise colors, flicker-free, and as I said, 1 pixel here. Perfect. Talking about 1 pixel also for the DMX interested of you out there, we do have some different profiles, and since it has 1 pixel, it's 3 to 7 DMX channels per bulb, of course depending on the profile you are choosing in this case. Before we move on here, I also want to make it very clear, it's maybe a little bit confusing as well. The NYX bulb does not have a built-in battery as the other Astera products. I just want to mention it. That's where the power station here comes into the picture. But you will also get to know the power station a lot better. Talking about that it doesn't have a battery inside also makes me come to that we do have several ways to actually power it up. So one way is through the AC power through the socket, what I have standing right here in front of me. Normally you would, for instance, have maybe a lampshade on top right here. I just simply want you to see how it looks. I have been screwing it in and out a few times now in this case. For your information, I know a lot of you guys maybe travel with the lights as well when you work abroad or have a shoot, have a production abroad. The bulb will come in 2 versions. So a European, also written actually more in details here down below. Sorry for that. So for Europe, for instance, we have made the E27 socket to simply just to certify it. And in US, the E26 socket. So just keep in mind that there are actually different sizes of sockets once it's out, simply just because of certifications. We do not have any other sizes at the moment. We also don't know if we will have it, just so you know. In case you do have some sizes you use more often or some sizes you prefer, we are more than happy to receive your, what do you call it? No, let me start over. We are more than happy simply just to receive your suggestions. Suggestions was the word, sorry for that, guys. And yeah, then we can evaluate if it makes sense for us to, for instance, make a E14 socket and so on. There is a lot of different versions, we all know that out there. Good. Talking about this one-way AC socket here and going to the DC, I will also talk a bit more about it later. Whenever having a bulb or buying a bulb as a single unit, you will have the USB DC cable included right here. So in case you have a standard power bank nearby, which I happen to have right here, just cheated a bit, and you want to power it up, then you can use a standard power bank as an external battery in this case. Just opens up for some possibilities in case you would need it one day. But the USB DC cable is for sure included here. Going from the standard power bank and then to the third option, what we have right here, is what I already mentioned, the power station. You see here, there is a DC cable hanging out of the power station right here. The power station, simply also just plug it into the DC. Maybe we can see the bulb a little bit more close up as well. Okay, no, I will show it here. You see the little DC connector right there. Simply just plug the power station in, like that. And now we have the power station working as an external battery. Actually, the power station is just more than a battery pack or external battery. I will come into that just in a few minutes, because you can also use it mounting wise and also setup wise, but I will come into that just in a few minutes. Just make sure that the bulb doesn't roll down here. A little good information here as well. When using the bulb on full brightness 4000 Kelvin white, you have it running for 3.5 hours when the power station is fully charged. Good. Just keep it in mind. I will also come a little bit more into the setup with the power station compared to the NYX bulb, and then suddenly everything should also make more sense. And don't forget, guys, I want you really to understand this product. So if you have any doubts, just ask them in the chat. We simply just want to clear them out along as we go in the webinar right here. Perfect. So I will just let this plugged in here and lay it here. I hope you see the color as well. It's a little bit bright, but I hope you can see it. Good. Talking about control methods has not changed compared to the Titan, Helios, Pixel Tube, AX5, AX3, all our products. So still the little remote control right here is useful, can be used. Point and change the color. I hope you can see it actually changes here on the table, just like this. Perfect. Sebastian is waving, that's a good sign, very good. And of course also app controlled with the Astera box right here. Simply connect the Astera box to your smartphone or your tablet. Blue mode the bulb once it's powered on, sitting in a socket. Just have to be powered on since there's no battery inside. Blue mode it and then pair it to the app. With the app, you can still do the DMX settings. You can set up brightness, then screw it in afterwards in the socket whenever you have it powered on with a standard power bank maybe, or a power station. So setup-wise with the app is working just the same way as it does with the other Astera lights in this case. The bulb has a CRMX chip built in, so whenever you want to use a lighting desk, maybe a DMX app controllable system, then this is also possible. So anyways, you can use a Lumen Radio, a Nova TX2 for instance, and simply just control it with your lighting desk, setting it up here with the app and also with the power station. Setting up with the power station I will come into just in a bit. Good. I don't know if you already know it, but we for sure do, and I also want you to get to know this, what I'm about to tell. I want to explain this in the best way I can because it's also it's actually a brand new feature. It's not out yet. It will come, and I believe that you will not be in doubt when it's there because I believe that we will spam the social medias, so you will get to know that it's there. It will hopefully come in the second half of the year. What this new feature is, you have your tablet, for instance, as I have here on the table. Now it's possible to simply connect your tablet with Bluetooth directly to one bulb, which will actually act the same way as the Astera box right here. So whenever connecting to one bulb, it will work as a transmitter. So this we can maybe call the master bulb. Then you can control several other Astera lights, just as you do with the Astera box. So you can connect, let's say you have one master bulb, 30 other bulbs out there. Then you can, of course, control the lights like this with the Astera app as well. I also hope that the little picture down here is symbolizing this pretty good. Just one thing to keep in mind, the range is limited, so 1/3 of the Astera box. So round about 100 meters, yes. So this one has to be very close to the smartphone or the tablet and simply just to the other lights as normal. The range is simply just a bit limited. Good. I believe there will be no doubt when this is out, guys. Just wait for it. I'm excited. Perfect. Setting up the NYX bulb I already talked about, and if you do DMX setups already, you probably do it through the display behind of a Titan tube or in the app. The power station right here is actually, I don't know why I just screwed this in because I just need it, like this. So when we plug this in, and I will also show you when we come to the sets why this is actually pretty helpful. Now we can set up the NYX bulb with the power station, just like this. So whenever you simply just want to...
Oh, sorry, it's not working.
Okay, cool. I will show it here in front of you guys right here. It's probably a little bit hard to see. The display here is actually the same as what you see on a Titan tube. So makes it possible to adjust the brightness, the runtime of course, and also you have CCT, you can adjust the kelvins, you can change between the static colors, and also all the gels are listed in here. You can also set the DMX address, input select, everything what you can do with the Titan tube you can do with the power station right here. Simply plug it in when it's powered on. When you have set your DMX address, for instance, then you can plug it out because it saves the settings or the setup you just made and simply screw it into your socket, or simply just like this. Then you can pair to a transmitter and then you have it running on wireless DMX. You can also do it if you just adjust the brightness or set a color, take it out of the power station, screw it in, and then you have just the setup you just made with the power station. Good. As we all know, I have been talking, maybe also mentioning pretty much already. Simply just screw it into a socket. This is a floor lamp, what I have standing here. Normally with the lampshade, also mentioned before, on top here. Or if you have installed some sockets in the ceiling already, simply just screw it in and you have the NYX bulb powered. Good. Moving on to the accessories, just want to do like this. Perfect. I have a socket here, maybe it's better in front of my black shirt. This socket we can attach to the power station. So the power station certainly acts like also a mounting possibility or option, just like this. Screw it on. The display will now be in the bottom here. And taking out the bulb from this socket and simply just screwing it in. Oh, wait a second. Screwing it in just like this. Boom. And now we can have it as a standing object instead. So having it as a standard object or standing object like this, using the power station with as an external battery. Sebastian, be my guest.
Yes, I have two questions here. One from Dave. So Dave was asking if it switches on immediately if the AC power gets switched on, because he could do some cool effects with this. Basically, it takes a second or so after you powered it up. Maybe you can show this real quick. Screw it into the AC socket, and it will immediately have contact to the power. But it still takes maybe 3 seconds or so to. Now I switch it on. Okay, yes, a little bit under a second, I think. Well, if you want to switch it on or off, you can simply do this over wireless DMX or over the AsteraApp. It's fully controllable, and you can run the effects over wireless DMX with basically no delay. So that's how you would do this. I hope it answers your question. If not, fire back another question in the chat, please. There was another question here from Fabian. Will it be possible that you upgrade the bulb with a battery pack? Well, we only work with an external battery pack, which you can connect over the DC input. Building in a battery is a great idea. Of course, we thought about this. The thing is, it has the size of a normal LED bulb, but has several wireless receivers built in, a DC converter, and all sorts of other little gadgets. And there simply wasn't any space to add 3 battery cells in there, which we would have needed to power this bulb. So we decided to rather make a smaller bulb, which looks like the normal bulb, and not have a big massive bulb. And the solution we came up is that you can simply connect an external battery pack, and most of the time you should be able to hide the battery cable somewhere behind the bulb, so that from the front you just simply don't see the battery cable.
Perfect.
All right, I think, Jesper, you can continue now.
Thank you. Good. Good to have everything cleared, so just fire...
just one more while we're talking. Yes. Can you show us the full power of the light bulb? Maybe you said you show this real quick with the app, maximum power. The problem is our little webcam here will probably a little bit be overloaded with the maximum brightness and white. So it's 10 watt of LED power, which is as bright as a 60 watt LED bulb. So just like your normal household bulb. I consider pretty bright. If I look inside it, it will certainly hurt my eyes, but I don't know how well this is coming through on the video now.
Maybe it makes me a little bit more beautiful here. Huh?
Yeah. Okay. Good. There was a question about IP rating, but I believe you are getting to this later, Jesper, right?
I will get to this a little bit later, yeah.
Good.
So it will be... It's a good question.
Yes. All right. So I guess you can continue.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on and continuing with the power station as a mounting option, there are several ways and multiple options in this case. I just rearranged the bulb here on the high side instead of the low side, or the flat side, if we have to pronounce it correctly. taking this little fella right here is the power station hanger. We can simply snap it in here into the airline track. If you wonder what the airline track is, then I'm also gonna explain and show you this a little bit better. Maybe we can actually show it now. Wait a second. Like this. Good. I would like this camera angle over here. Okay, good. Perfect. Doesn't matter. So guys, I just mentioned the airline track. You see it right here. This is the same actually what you see on speakers when you want to fly them. This is the same size, and we have of course made some special mounting or grips accessories that you can mount directly on the power station, simply just like this. So when you want to hang it, simply just snap it in, and then you have it hanging just like this. It's called the airline track, and I want to give a little bit more focus to this because this is also going to be a part of future products we are actually planning. So it will become more and more, and I believe it's also a very fast way to do it. If you are working a lot with C-stands, GoPro heads mounting, and also super clamps, in this case to mount it on a truss, let's start here with this fella right here called a track pin. Also again, snap it in like this. Remember to tighten it up here so we get it stable, and now we can simply mount it here on a, I hope you can see it maybe like this, on a C-stand. In case you want to mount it with a super clamp or any other clamp looking something similar to this here, I hope you know it, like this, then we can snap it on here, and now we can mount it on a truss, just like this. Good. So this is what the track pin is for. Perfect. Some of you might already know the little AX3 light drop, what we also have. And one of the special things, mounting-wise with the AX3, have always been the magnets on the backside. If somebody have seen it, you also know about the magnets, I believe. We don't want to limit, and I guess that nobody wants to be limit mounting-wise, so we have of course also implemented 4 magnets here on the power station when you use it as an external battery pack in this case. So simply just mount it on metal surfaces, snap it on, and you have it running just as you wish. We have some more questions, yeah?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. One was already answered in the chat. What is the runtime at full brightness? So when you have the power station connected via the DC cable and put it on maximum brightness in white, you have 3.5 hours of runtime. So that's twice as much as the Titan tube has, for example. Of course, you could also connect a big external battery pack, like a power bank. This power station here is as big as a 10,000 milliampere power bank. So if you find a 15 or 20,000 milliampere power bank, that it would run, I don't know, maybe 6-7 hours. So that could also work. There was a comment here. I think the E27 connection is good, but is there a plan to do a version with a black casing instead of white? We talked about this here internally. I think most people would prefer a white one, but there might be some, I mean, either you can put some tape over it to make it look black, or maybe one day, if many people ask us, we might be adding a little accessory which could clip on and simply turn this into a black case, and also hide, for example, the DC socket at the backside. So yes, that's something we are talking about, but let's see what people really need once it's shipping. And another question here: can you use the control panel while the bulb is still plugged in with the AC? Either it can be powered from AC or DC. So once it's connected to the AC, you can use the AsteraApp, for example, to program it, but not the power station panel at the same time. All right, I give the microphone back to Jesper.
Thank you. Good. Just talking a little bit about the different mounting options and the accessories we have in this case. The presentation will also be available afterwards for download, so I just listed them here nice and easy for you, so you also have a good overview after the webinar. Moving on to the accessory, which I'm standing or holding here in my hand, has a suction right here. I hope you can see it, guys. Maybe we can make the picture big. Okay, we do have the camera here. So it looks like this. This is what we call the CupBouncer. So you have the suction here and the little plate right there. I hope the picture also indicates or shows it very, very nice. You see the bulb right here. So the light angle or the beam angle would actually be more like this without the CupBouncer. But in case you do have a lampshade on and you want the light to go more downwards, you can simply just suck it on or put it on like this, and then you would have more light going like this. You would still have a little bit light up here, as you see on the picture, but in this case it would simply just go more down, so you change actually the beam angle if needed when using a lampshade. So this is just a little accessory which is also in the NYX bulb set. I believe we come to that just in a few seconds. So going up with CupBouncer, going more down. Perfect. I think this is very clear. Otherwise, simply just fire it away. And we have a question more. Yes.
Yes, some good questions here today. Is it compatible with the FP1 power box or the data link for a wired DMX option or for power? So this bulb does not have any wired DMX possibility. Even if we would build a dedicated accessory, simply the bulb could not read the wired DMX data. For a powered input, the power input is 5 to 18 volt DC power. And since the FP1 power box is 24 volt, unfortunately this also doesn't work with a with this NYX bulb here. Okay, back
Perfect.
to Mr. Jesper.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you. So, talking a little bit about units, and also the sets will come very, very soon. I think I mentioned it already actually. The single bulb here, when you buy it, the USB to DC cable will be included. So it will simply come in a set like this. So in case you do have a standard power bank or want to power it by USB in another way, this is also possible. Good. Going to the power station, here as a single unit is also possible. So whenever buying, let me just take off the socket here, like this. So whenever buying the power station as a single unit, you will have a power E27 socket, maybe E26 where you come from, like this. And also, of course, with a charger for the power station. You might know it, it's actually a Pixel Tube AX1 charger. So this is what we use to charge the power station with. Simply just connect and we have it charging once it's plugged in. So this is what you get buying a single power station unit. Good. Like that. So, I believe we have come to the set, so I will just step a little bit here in front. Good. So, let me just open this one first. Here, perfect. Maybe a little bit closer. Good. The NYX bulb set comes with 8 bulbs. You also see it here in the presentation. 1 power station and 8 CupBouncers and 8 USB to DC cables and 1 charger for the power station. So this here would be the setup. So the 8 bulbs right here, the power station in this, and in this one comes the power supply for the power station. In case you are wondering why we do have 1 power station for 8 bulbs, is because as I said before, the bulbs are saving what you are setting up with the power station or through the app. So now I can connect the power station here one by one, and then I can set my DMX addresses, for instance. Once that has been done, I can take it out, and then I can simply just install it once again. So in this case, the idea is that you go from bulb to bulb to bulb to bulb. Good. I also think this makes very good sense. So here on top, you have the power station, the 8 bulbs. And when we just lift the layer here, down below, you have the space for the 8 CupBouncers. And here in the middle, you have for 8 USB to DC cables. If you do know the size of an AX3 light drop set, this is a bit smaller. So yeah, then you can take this as, that as a reference. This is a bit smaller. Perfect. Now going to this fine one over here. Let me just arrange the cables. This is the very first prototype and will also look different compared to the arrangement here in the case, also regarding the cables, guys. Good. I will take it very slow now explaining this because it's very important that you get my point and also understand what I'm trying to say here. The power station set is meant for 2 things. There are 8 power stations in the set, laying next to each other, 4 on each side. 8-way charging cable, so the first way of the 2 ways or functionalities is actually the charging function. So here you have a charging station or charging case for the 8 power stations. With this 8-way charging cable, which is connected to a Hyperion charger right here, simply just connect to one power socket and then you have all 8 power stations charging. The white cables here are pretty new. This is bridge cables. So let me try give you an example. Normally when you have, let's say, 8 Titan tubes or 8 AX3s which have battery built in, which the NYX bulb do not have. I will just speak slow. It's very important that you understand this. So the NYX bulb do not have a battery inside. The bridge cables here have different length. So in this case, these are actually for plugging in all 8 bulbs, connecting the power station to the little socket here. You see them all right here. And now we can actually configure all 8 bulbs at one time. So in case you really do need to create some sets with the app before you mount them into the socket or maybe mount them with the power station, then this is the way to set them up or to configure them. So here makes it possible simply just to configure all 8 bulbs. In case you do have several cases and it has to go fast, then you have this setup, remove this set when done, put the new bulb set here and just plug in and make your settings afterwards, install them in the sockets once again. So the cables here have different length, as I said, so you will not be in doubt compared to which one you need to plug it into. So in this way, it's very fast and easy also to set up the NYX bulb, DMX-wise, color-wise, everything, setting groups up in the Astera app and so on. Let me just do like this, because we also do have a secret room underneath when lifting the layer here. What you see down here below is actually space for 8 track pins. Over here we have for 8 power station hangers. And also the big rooms here is for the sockets, like this. So, at all times for the power station, mounting-wise accessories, you will always have all the accessories by hand. And of course, what you need for the bulb is in the NYX bulb set. I also have, we also saw the slide a little bit before, with all the things which is actually included here in the power station set. So, let me just put this back on here. I made a site for you also having a better overview over all the accessories what we have, just for afterwards, so you can see the single units, also the socket, CupBouncer, and in case you actually did bought single unit bulbs and you regret that you didn't had a case with it, then you can also buy an empty NYX bulb case or empty power station set case. Good. I think that is clear. Something what we just got confirmed today, I believe, the bulb is IP44 when talking about IP certification. Yes. As you know, other Astera products are IP65. The NYX bulb is IP44. This is simply because of the socket down here. This is the reason for the IP44 instead of IP65. We do have a rubber plug to plug in here. Yeah, simply just to use. You know it already from the Titan tube, I believe. So not so much to talk about there. We did update our website with the NYX bulb as well. So in case you want to read about the specifications, you can also find it at our webpage, astera-led.com. Perfect. Guys, if you do have any questions now, we want to find, and Sebastian is sick. Yeah, perfect, Sebastian.
Yes, there was another question from Fabian. Is there a maximum amount of bulbs that can be controlled with the app? It's the same as for all the other Astera lights. You can control almost an unlimited amount of bulbs. If you have more than 1,000 bulbs, it's getting a little bit complicated to manage all them because you need to sort them and maybe control individual ones, but it would still work. Just the refreshing would be a little bit slow while you're programming them. But when sending commands and changing colors, this will still go instantly. So the question is that there's basically no limit to this amount of bulbs that you can control. There's a question from Italy about the price. Well, it depends a little bit around the world. In some countries, it's a little bit more expensive due to taxes, shipping costs, and so on. In Europe, the street price should be around 100 euro. I think I can say this. In the States, then maybe 100, 110, 120 US dollar, depending a little bit where you buy it. Keep in mind, most people will buy this as a set, so you can calculate by yourself how much the set would be. But I think it's like all the Astera products, most people will buy a set of 8 or something like this, although we do sell individual units as well. I believe that Jesper is basically done with his presentation, so if there's any more questions, now would be a great time to fire them into the chat. Otherwise, Jesper, any last words from your side?
Yes. I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's for sure important to mention. This will be available for you in June, guys. So, yeah, I think we have a question.
Yes, there's another question from Hans. And it's a good question, and I'm very sad that this has to be so complicated. So, in the data sheets and also at the beginning of this presentation, we talk about a total LED power and a power draw. So I believe Hans has found a little mistake in the data sheet. It should say that the total LED power is 14 watt, yeah? So if you calculate all the little LED chips together, they are all like a quarter watt or something, and if you calculate them together, you get to 14 watt. But after calibration, what you can really get out of it is just 10 watt. So I think that's the correct way. It's possible that in the data sheet what we uploaded in the last few days, there's a little mistake, but I hope that by this explanation it has become more clear how it is. That when you switch them on, it takes 10 watt, and that's usually how other bulbs would list it. They would be listed as 7, 8, or 10 watt or something like this. Another question from Drew. What types of DMX profiles will be available? Basically, it's the same DMX profiles as other Astera lights have. For example, an AX3 light drop, who also has 1 pixel. The most basic LED profile is a RGB profile, where the other LEDs, like the amber LEDs and so on, they will automatically get calculated. So you just need to choose 3 values. However, there's many other profiles available. For example, for the filmmakers, one where you have a one fader just for color temperature, another one for green magenta, and so on. So there's a bunch of profiles, all between 3 and 7 channels for one bulb. Another question here, can you use several bulbs to extend the range of signal? Good question. As Jesper explained earlier, that you can connect to one bulb with Bluetooth, but then you need to be pretty close to this, just a couple of meters. And this will forward data to the other bulbs. However, that's as far as it goes. There's no mesh network or something like this where the data is hopping from light to light and go further. Yeah, it's just not possible with our technology, and it would also probably get the refresh rate down, so they would take longer to react. Another comment here from Matthew, definitely going to buy one of those Philips Hue on steroids for my room. I think it's a good explanation. Many people compare it to the Philips Hue, but of course it has many additional features, like it has much higher CRI. The control is much more professional. So yes, you can use this for home. You can just connect the AsteraApp directly to them and control them from your phone. So this will certainly work. Another question here from Tyler. Can you use the bulb in any socket, or is there a specific socket made for it? So as Jesper explained, we have 2 versions. One is an E26, one is an E27 socket version. So you can screw them into any E26, E27 socket. It will just work. No adapter needed, nothing. Even the E26 version is compatible with the E27 socket, so you're pretty free to do this. I hope that explains this question as well. And from Sasha, is it now on maximum intensity in this green? So I believe while I was talking here, Jesper already pumped it up to maximum intensity and is blinding himself in the face. I have to say one thing here, it doesn't look that bright maybe on the picture because we have about 10 Titan tubes or so all pointed on Jesper while he's giving this presentation. So it doesn't look that bright, but it is pretty bright, just as a normal 60 watt LED bulb. So when you put it into a lampshade, it is nicely filled up unless you have like a direct sunlight hitting on it or something like this. Another question from Dave. I might use these with other batteries instead of USB. What are the DC plug dimensions, please? Well, it's great that you're so enthusiastic and would like to start immediately building your accessories 1 month before the lights are shipping. Give us a month, and by the time they arrive, we will have the dimensions in the data sheet. I think that would be the right location to specify the DC plug dimensions. And yes, feel free to build your accessories, 12 volt or something like this. I'm sure there's all sorts of possibilities. How does Scramble PWM work to resolve flicker? Well, as we mentioned, it's a flicker-free product, like the Titan tube and the Helios tube. So this has been proven for a long time already. It's the same technologies what video walls are using. So it's just that the PWM is constantly changing, so you just won't have any flickering in this while on camera. So I cannot tell you the exact technical specifications how this work, but trust me, my friend, that it's working very well. And our spotlights, for example, don't have this, so we have another way to get rid of flickering, but here it simply works out of the box. And another question here, thank you for all the questions, from David. When using this bulb in a practical light fixture, will a hardwired dimmer affect the bulb? Obviously, the app allows the bulb to dim, but will resonance dimmer hurt the unit? Interesting question. I think as long as you have a dimmer and leave it on maximum brightness, you won't have any effect of this. I don't know at what dimming it will switch off. To be honest, that's something I would have to check. But if you screw it into a normal dimmer socket or socket connected to a dimmer, it should be working, because as I mentioned earlier, it works for any E26, E27 socket. And another question. Would the flicker-free hold up if I shoot at 200 frames per second? I think we had something like this with the Titan and Helios tubes before. It doesn't go to super high speed, but I believe that 200 frames per second was shot before, and that should work. At a certain frame rate, it will stop being flicker free, and if you have a high speed shoot with 2000 frames per second, it will certainly no longer be flicker free. But yes, I believe 200 frames per second is fine. Wow, a long question lesson hour here. Thank you for all the questions. If no more questions, thank you, and I give back to Jasper. Otherwise, just send us an email over Facebook or our website, and we're happy to answer any more questions in the next weeks.
As Sebastian said, you are more than welcome to make contact to us, guys. I also have my email address actually written down here. So in case you do have anything or think that you will have any questions, please just write me. I'm more than happy to help you out. As I said, they are shipping in June. So yeah, I guess there's not so much else to say. I hope you are well out there, guys. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and stay safe out there.